We're all quiet. What's going on? Oh, okay, this hangout is live, ladies. Okay, so welcome to this week's episode of Whiskey, Wine, and Moonshine. This will be episode 69. My name is Think Pretty Smart, one of your hostesses for the show. Also with me, I have Lady Buddha, Sojo, and our special guest, Terry. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/whiskey wine moon. Over 150 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. You can also go to our website and click on the little donate button and send us, a gift offering of sorts. And by gift offering of sorts, I mean money. So yeah, go ahead and do that. Ladies, how are you doing? Lady Buddha, how are you today?
I'm really good. I've been kicking it already, so all is well over here at the hotel. Whoop, 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 whoop. How about y'all?
Is that what you're calling it, kicking it?
What are you drinking? What are you drinking, Lady Buddha?
I'm drinking what we'll just call Hotel Merlot, because I'm at a hotel that's not known for happy hours, but the manager individually purchases bottles of wine and just says y'all can have some at our happy hour. So you just get a little cup.
And there really is a little cup. Like, it's not even.
You get a mini solo, a mini and so I already started beforehand, and then I just got this to kind of like reinforce dinner. All right.
Okay. All right.
That's a rather large glass of reinforcement.
Hey,
did y'all see
That is
that?
not little at all.
It's little. It's like really tiny. I haven't had any of it. I wanted to make sure I could last the whole show. I'm trying to catch up with Sojo. She drinks a whole bottle at one time, so it's just a cup.
Really? Wow.
It's intrigued. Sojo, what are you drinking, and how are you today?
I'm good. I just slid in right before we went live, so I didn't have a chance. I was trying to do a little smoothie, but I didn't have a chance to, so I just have my sangria. So that I was going to use with the smoothie, so that's it.
And Terry, what about you?
Well, I had a long day at work today, so I am drinking my Terry Special, which is vodka and Sprite.
Yes.
Definitely for long days.
It kind of looks like a Zima, but whatever. That's showing my.
It is not Zima. There is no Zima in this household. I reject that.
I too am drinking something clear of the water variety. This is the Aquafina. I think the year on this is 2014. It's wonderfully filling, robust flavor, and I'm enjoying it immensely.
Yes, a lot of people fill up their water bottles with vodka. Good deal.
Exactly.
Wow.
Look, stop trying to make me like you. I'm trying to hydrate and get my life back together. Okay. So we see you over there in the chat. Jeffrey says, "Hey Kimba, good seeing you again, and you're looking pretty tonight too." And his usual first message was, "Hey ladies, looking pretty as always." Jeffrey, #1 fan. Anyway,
Yes, he is.
So, as people may know, Terry is our resident sports girl around these parts. So a lot of sports stuff has happened lately, and we just want to talk about it here today. The first of which we talked about, huh?
Let's start with the fact that the Falcons won. Okay. Woo, woo, woo.
Really? Because we could really start with the fact that the Eagles are in first place in the NFC East. I'm just saying, if we're going to talk about which football team won, I got to represent my Eagles.
You know what? Buddha is trolling because she barely knows that the Falcons won.
Terry, don't get wrapped up in her foolishness. Don't
get drawn in.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
And then her conversation's gonna be like, wait, that's the limit of my knowledge.
Also, the Vikings won.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't know that. Yeah, you wouldn't know that.
I did see the last quarter and overtime of the Falcons game, and I really thought they were about to lose it because they had no defense at all at the end.
Now, is that what you thought, or is that what?
That's what I thought, because they were just letting the ball go down the field. They were just letting it happen. They just kind of stood by and watched.
She was right. They were trying to lose. They got a gift,
They
with
do
Marcus
that right. I was
Colston's
about to
fumble.
say it's per usual. But they won, so that's all that matters. Whatever.
Rise up, bitches. That's what I tweeted.
Excuse me, let me just pull this bus back together. The first topic we want
Can y'all tell that Lady Buddha had a beverage before that large solo competition? She's gonna have a nap in about 10 minutes. She gonna fall.
Shut up. Anyway, go ahead. I just had to get that out. Oh, wait. One more thing. And TSA was heckling. TSA was heckling people because I flew today or yesterday, and TSA was like, any Saints fans in the line? This really happened. Any Saints fans in the line? I'm just gonna wish you a really long, safe ride home.
Wow.
At the airport. Okay, this is it. I'm done.
Are you sure?
I'm done.
Look, why Miss Smart looked like she want to hand you her bottle of water. She took a long sip and she was about to say, want some?
I'm about to take my horns off, so I'm done.
Anyway, so the first thing we wanted to touch upon is an update from a story that we talked about a while back, and that was about the cheerleaders, suing for minimum wage. Well, and the most recent thing that's happened with that is that the Oakland Raiders, I think they're called the Raiderettes, they're set to receive $1.25 million from the team. So the judge agreed that there are some issues there, and basically it's set up so that the past cheerleaders are supposed to get an hourly wage, some back wages. So that's
now they're gonna get $9 an hour plus overtime, which is something that's unheard of with them because they usually get paid per game. Right. So now they're gonna get overtime as well, that's huge in and of itself. So yeah, shout out to them.
Now, one thing that really tripped me out about the issue was that one of the articles I read said that other young ladies were upset by this, that now teams are going to stop. Like I think it was the Buffalo Bills got rid of the Jills because they didn't want to deal with this. To me, that's not really a good excuse not to get what we're guaranteed in America.
And some of those girls who are even gonna get the back pay are still complaining and upset, about that. That's something I don't understand.
Yeah.
I think that there is a culture in general in sports of don't complain, just kind of be happy that you have this privilege, because a lot of people feel, and in some ways they're right, that performing for a professional sports team is a privilege and not just a job. So I think a lot of the young ladies don't want to ruffle feathers of anybody, and they just kind of want to go along to get along. I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen with the Bills now that they've been sold, if they're going to bring the Jills back.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the fans have a part to play in this too, because the fans could sort of demand that the Jills come back, or some of those big money spender guys could say, hey, we want them, we want them here. I don't see all the NFL teams taking away all of the cheerleaders just to avoid this. I mean, their pay is a drop in the hat. It's nothing compared to what the NFL teams make. Now, granted, I know that they do the cheerleaders sort of separate from the overall umbrella of the NFL, but I don't think those girls are asking for much. I mean, really, they probably should be asking for more than minimum wage.
Yeah, even when you look at the total that they're actually paying them per year, it's really not that much. And then, was it the Jills that were the ones being sold during halftime? Remember when we saw that special?
I think so.
I think it was the Jills.
Yeah.
But in that article you sent, the quote says, the lawsuits ruined it for the rest of the girls, said Lori Marino, a former cheerleader and now president of the Buffalo Jills Alumni Association. They were well informed going into tryouts that the cheerleader squad wasn't a paid job. It wasn't a job at all. It was a sport to be enjoyed. So
See,
there, y'all.
But that's a hobby to be enjoyed. I mean, like it is. If it's gonna be a sport, which a lot of people want to say cheerleading is a sport, and it is because of the athleticism of it. Then you should pay them. Otherwise, it's a hobby, and they weren't doing that necessarily. Even though it was an enjoyment, it wasn't just a hobby. And even with the pay, like I'm looking at the article from $1,250 to $3,200. That's not a big jump to pay someone. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket. So to say that they ruined the cheerleading squad overall, it's
pretty ridiculous.
Right.
Especially the uniforms cost almost $1,000 with uniforms, makeup, and all that stuff.
Expenses, your uniforms, your everything else, the debt that people are going into, that's not necessarily just, something to be enjoyed. They were really investing in that. So if they get dividends on that, for like, what's the big deal? Whatever. And then now they get paychecks every 2 weeks, except for one lump sum at the season's end. So even with that, they're still not getting anyway. I'm just trying to figure out what the big difference between $1,250 and $3,200 is.
I don't understand either, but I'm glad to see that they have made some leeway. Hopefully this will spread. And honestly, I think it should give confidence to other people in similar situations to go for minimum wage at the very least. And I think we need to do a better job as a country defining what work is. Because just because I enjoy doing something doesn't mean I shouldn't get paid for it.
Very true.
Just because there are other benefits that come along with this thing I enjoy doing, it doesn't mean I shouldn't get paid for it.
Very true.
That's that. So let's see what else happened here in this world of sports. Gee, I can't really think of anything. Okay, here we go.
Serena won. That's something else.
That's something. Go Serena. Go.
Yes.
Yes.
That was nice.
That's wonderful. But the reason the people are probably all here waiting on us to say it, Ray Rice, y'all. Ray Rice. Well, I mean, why do people actually need to see the video to understand the gravity of the situation?
I don't know.
There's so many layers to this because we actually covered this on an earlier show. I forgot which one it was. I guess I'll pull up the episode later. But we showed the second part of the video on the show, which was more than enough to see that something horrendous happened. So I didn't necessarily need to see the TKO. I saw it, but I didn't need to see that to know that what he did was horrible. His demeanor, I even talked about his demeanor after it was over.
Yes.
He didn't care. There was
treated
no
her
regard.
like shit. Like, I mean,
there was no regard for her at all.
He seemed more annoyed that he had to move her than anything else.
Yep, she was a bag of shit that needed to be disposed of. You were in the way. I guess I have to move you. That's what he communicated in just that original clip. That's it.
And the thing is, like with all these people, because we actually, as many offices, everybody stopped working when it happened, and we had discussions about it. And I would, people can finish saying what they want to say, but I can turn to how Jay-Z handles Solange in the elevator. Someone who he does not romantically love. He was being attacked by her, and he still didn't knock the fuck out of her. He just didn't do it. Because part of being an adult is having some level of self-control.
And the thing is, now watching the beginning of the tape, because people had all these assumptions about what did she do to him. He initiated that whole thing. He spat on her, like he as she was walking by, and then when they got in the elevator. And what was frightening about his body language was because people were asking the question, well, how do we know that this was not this first time for them escalating to that level? If you knock somebody unconscious for the very first time, especially being a man and it's a woman, your first reaction is going to be like, oh shit, what did I do? Like,
right.
And that was not there.
It wasn't there at all.
Wasn't there at all.
I mean, he basically kicked her once he got her out of the, so I mean, all of that was very telling in the nature of their relationship. So there were so many different, well, when TMZ first released the tape that morning, it was like maybe 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning. So the people who were on the first shift of Twitter, you know, everybody was pretty much on the same page, like, damn, you know, okay, now we understood, da 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 da. And then as people, you know, basement Twitters, mamas went to work and they got to the internet, then that's when the conversation started changing. You know, it was like, well, what did she do, or what, you know, even before Ray Rice got fired or whatever, it just the entire conversation started to change. So
it's interesting. I'm sorry, because I was thinking Philly.com actually put out a cartoon about this very thing, about how no matter what happens, Philly.com put out a cartoon about this very thing, about how no matter what happens, no matter what the video shows, there are always going to be apologists for what happened. Amen. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be like, well, she came at him. So in the video, in the elevator, he hits her first inside the elevator. And yet people said, well, she came at him. You know, and literally I saw this today. Several different people, women, a lot of them, saying, well, she came at him. And, you know, so of course, you know, we can't comment on that. And it's a private matter. The other thing was, it's a private matter. We shouldn't talk about it.
My cousin went off on that. It's a private matter bullshit.
He made it a public matter when he whooped her ass in public. It's no longer a private matter, and we are going to talk about it because it's something. And a lot of people said that her privacy was violated because TMZ only did this for ratings, and her privacy was violated. He violated her privacy when he did that.
When he broke the law, when he committed assault. So even if he was in her house and no one else saw it, it was still becoming a matter of the public because it's still against the law.
TMZ doesn't have.
Let me just pause for a second and read a comment. I'll say Michelle because I don't know if she wants her full name read. I'm so glad I was able to catch the live show today. I'm so tired of people on my job talking about how Ray Rice was right and she got what she deserved. Worst of it all is women defending this crap and the few men. Lately, Rod, and for those who don't know, that's probably Rod from Black Guy Who Tips. Rod's been in my mind when I ask these women, what happened to you? The response is always the same. They were in a domestic violence situation in a previous relationship. So I think it's almost like that you start to sympathize with your oppressor.
Yeah, that battered woman syndrome is real talk.
And even going back to her initial response, the Ravens had to delete a tweet that they tweeted out in May saying that Renee Rice says she deeply regrets the role she played in the night of the incident. After this video was released, they, of course, deleted that tweet. And then everyone, you know, just still kept talking about she must have provoked him if she's willing to stay. And now that he's been fired, you know, she posted a picture on her Instagram. Did you guys see what she said?
I did, yes.
So you want to read that?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have it up, or I can pull it up?
I have it up.
She said, I woke up this morning feeling like I had a horrible nightmare, feeling like I'm mourning the death of my closest friend. But to have to accept the fact that its reality is a nightmare in itself. No one knows the pain that the media and unwanted opinions from public has caused my family. To make us relive a moment in our lives that we regret every day is a horrible thing. To take something away from the man I love that he has worked his ass off for all of his life just to gain ratings is horrific. This is our life. What don't you all get? If your intentions were to hurt us, embarrass us, make us feel alone, take all happiness away, you've succeeded on so many levels. Just know we will continue to grow and show the world what real love is. Ravens Nation, we love you. I'll let you guys.
I have so many comments about that. My first comment is that it makes me sad that once again, the very first person out of the Ray Rice household to speak upon what happened was the victim.
Right.
That Ray Rice even still sent his wife out first. She was the first line of defense, once again, to what happened in which she was a victim. So that's my very first comment. And it made me a little angry just to see the fact that, once again, he sent her out first. Because in this situation, the only person that should be talking, if anybody, should be him. The other part was that she said that she felt embarrassed and that she felt like this was a media ratings grab. And for TMZ, it probably was. I mean, this was a beautiful thing for the TMZ organization. They actually controlled the entire, world yesterday. However, it's not their responsibility to not embarrass them. If she's embarrassed, it's because of her husband. If she's humiliated, it's because of her husband. If he lost his job, it's because of his actions. It's not because of the media. It's not because TMZ released the video. It's because he hit her and knocked her out. Right. That is the only reason why he is well, it's not the only reason, but that is the number one reason why he is unemployed today.
It's the root cause.
Did this. It is the root cause.
I saw one of our sorors yesterday that I had to do that block unblock move, that conscious unfollow, because
her unfollow you and you unfollow her, yeah.
Exactly, because she tweeted out something about, this is just an attack on another, young black man who made a mistake and some other crap or whatever. And because she was saying basically now he's lost his livelihood because, of the media, and it's the media's fault that they're spinning this. And I just kept thinking, no, number one, he did this. Nobody else did this except for him. And he works in a field where he's not just an employee, he's a part of a brand. And so he damaged that brand by himself. He made his own personal brand worthless, and that's his fault. You know what I'm saying? It's not Janae's fault. It's not the league's fault. It's not TMZ's fault. He needs to take responsibility. And like you said, Kimba, he keeps setting her out to, on Front Street to basically do the apology tour for them. He has yet to, like yesterday, he should have been the one saying, you know what, I'm sorry, I understand what's going on. No, he had her, because he knows what she's doing when she's doing that Instagram thing.
Right.
And the thing that people don't understand about women in abusive relationships is that a lot of times they will do whatever it takes to make sure that that man is protected, either out of fear, out of, some twisted sense of love, out of, sometimes like what's going to happen if he becomes upset over this. It's already a bad thing. I don't want to make him even more upset, so let me do something to try to soothe over the situation. That's learned behavior. It's something that's groomed over a period of time. So for people to act like she's supposed to just hop out and be like, oh, I'm leaving his ass because he da-da-da-da-da, that doesn't happen.
Oh, dangerous. First of all, it's dangerous.
Right. And because we act like Javon Belcher and Cassandra Perkins, what's her name? Cassandra Perkins didn't happen less than 2 years ago. He shot her and killed himself. That happened in the league. She had already left him and come back a million times before. They've already been through that. So for to expect her to all of a sudden have this show of strength, that's complete bullshit.
And I would say that the other thing that I've heard is not only why didn't she leave, but why didn't she go to her mama's house? Why didn't she do these things? And if women who were in these situations could go to a family member's house, then we wouldn't have these unmarked domestic violence shelters.
Well, sometimes the family members send them back.
Exactly.
That's the family members will rat them out. I will say, just from a personal situation, when I was going through, my parents' situation when I was a child, the person who told my dad where we were was her best friend because she felt like they should work it out. So, it's so difficult for a woman to remove herself from that situation. And when people get angry with the victim for the choices that they make and they don't understand all the dynamics, it's so, so insensitive. Like, you don't know what he told. I sat there, and when I watched that elevator scene, I saw, like, how when you're a child and you do something wrong and your parents, like, whispering in your ear, you better not fuck up. You better not embarrass me. That's what it looked like when he had her sitting up and trying to get herself together when those other people came around. There was no concern there. There was control over that situation. And she knew not to yell and not to, oh my God, this just happened to me. She was scared of what was going to happen next. That was very controlled. And so when people don't understand that, I just don't get it. Even on Twitter yesterday, I told you guys this on WhatsApp. There was a guy on Twitter who did this tweet about he was a recovering abuser. He had, got into a domestic situation with the mother of his children, and he was saying that, he was working on himself and he was getting it together, and all these men and women on Twitter were saying, oh my God, we're praying for you, salute. And then the mother of his children, and both of them are popular tweeters, she said, no, he hasn't yet been to counseling, not one time. this just happened in July and it's September. And then she screenshotted where when she told him when he first started tweeting the story, she asked him to respect their privacy and not tweet it. And he said, this is my story, not yours. And then he sent a text message to her saying, I could have killed you, but I didn't. And he said, I was the one who didn't do this. Nobody controlled me. I could have killed you, but I didn't. So that's the type of mentality that you're dealing with guys like that, even when they seem remorseful, like they're getting over the situation. You don't know what they're saying to these women behind the scenes. And even last night, once she told people that, she had a job interview or a job training the next day, and he refused to watch their kids so she could go to her because he was pissed, and then told her, nobody's going to unfollow you. I mean, nobody's going to unfollow me based on what I told them. So basically, you lost? What?
Well, because at the core of it all, it is about control.
Right.
You know, like they want to control the woman. They want to control how the public sees them. And even after it is over, I mean, you know, on Twitter, that last bit of control is, I'm going to ruin. I may not kill you, but I'm still going to ruin a professional opportunity. You know, I have to have that. And to me, it makes me wonder if he lacks control in other more important areas, like more, I guess, esteem-building areas of his life, like the men who, you know, they get beat down at work because their boss hates them or whatever, they don't make enough money, whatever their issue is at work, and then because they can't turn around and punch their boss at work.
So they come home
and punch their wife, their kids, and kick the dog on the way in.
Oh yeah, with the
story.
NFL players. Go ahead, Buddha.
I was going to say, I shared a story actually on Facebook, and I can't remember if I shared it on Twitter yet, but it says why I married my abuser, and a woman recounts her whole story of why I stayed. And part of what she says, it says, you know, she gives the story of how the very first punch that her then boyfriend gave her, and how her husband actually ended up punching her on their wedding day while she was in her wedding dress. But you know, she wrote, in fact, it took me 7 more months of abuse and a pregnancy scare to leave him for good. I learned in the domestic violence shelter how lucky I was to still have an okay job, to not have kids by him, to not be permanently injured or dead. It's beyond silly to say that any woman who is getting smacked around thinks it's acceptable to be smacked around. No one knows better than a woman who is being abused that it is wrong. Not leaving isn't the same as consent. I stayed because I was traumatized and isolated. I believe that Hank really loved me and that no man with less passion/anger, those words were conflated for me, would ever love me like him. And it's what she talked about, her whole story, her whole journey, and how difficult it was for her to leave.
That is so sad. That is so sad.
In WhatsApp, the story of a family friend who said that her husband hit her the first time, like right after they got married, and she stayed for over 30 some odd years. And well, I told somebody at work, and I'm glad you brought that article up, Lady Buddha, about that abuse doesn't start when somebody knocks the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. And what you just said about how she had nobody to go to, abuse starts at, I don't like you spending all that time with Terry.
That's what
right.
she said.
She doesn't like her spending all that time with Terry is because Terry can do and speak as she pleases and does. So it starts off like that. It starts off with, I don't like you wearing heels out to work.
Right.
You know,
or even like, I was gonna say, or even like, is that dress appropriate? I think that dress is too short. You know, little minor things that seem like, oh, it's so cute. You're just trying to keep this all for you.
The reason she got punched in the wedding dress was because he felt like it was the wrong color.
Or if you smile at somebody, why are you all up in their face? Why are you giving them attention? You know, it starts off with little things. It happens way before that first punch. And that's why when you know, a lot of times sometimes as women, we can be judgmental towards other women, and we tend to think that women in domestic violence situations are automatically weak. A lot of them that are preyed upon aren't necessarily outside weak people. Mm-hmm. They're people who a lot of times guys resent the fact that they are outspoken, and so they want to break something in their spirit. Yes. And so it starts out with little things like that where the woman is like, oh, well, dang, and they're thinking because they, are in a loving relationship at that time, maybe that's something I can adjust, not realizing that that's part of the technique that happens over and over and over again until they're in a situation where they're trapped.
Yep, I agree 150%. I do just want to pause here and read a couple of comments. Evo, hey, what's up? He said, so speaking on this one point, my dad hit my mom, and he has a thing for putting his hands on people that he has no business doing. He was just arrested about 2 years ago for putting his hands on his soon-to-be ex-wife. The point that I'm making is until they get caught and put out, they won't change since they have been getting away with it. I fully agree. And to an earlier point that was made, Evo, I don't know if you were here, but somebody said that the women often protect the men in these situations. So, instead of saying, I have a black eye, which is why I can't follow through on a commitment, they'll be like, oh, I'm sick. Or instead of saying, he doesn't want to go to this wedding or whatever event with me, they'll say, I'm sick, or I have to work, or I have to do this, because they know that if they take him out in public, he is one glance away from knocking the crap out of her or grabbing her by the arm.
Even if publicly he's having the time of his life.
Right.
Give a woman a look across the room that lets her know as soon as we get home, that's your ass.
Yep. And the other thing about that, I found that when we were talking about the Ray Rice, about Janae specifically, someone at work was like, oh, well, she married him for the money. I said, okay, well, you know what? What about the girl down in the trailer park who still married her abuser? They don't have 2 nickels between them or 4 teeth between them, but she still married him after he, there's something else there. The bottom line is what she did isn't important.
It's irrelevant.
Get the whole fuck out of her.
Right.
That's it.
Completely irrelevant. We need to add that as the subtitle or something, that it has nothing to do with whatever she did.
Whatever she did does not matter.
Blame.
Right.
Yeah.
I do want to take a moment to talk about the NFL in this, though. As you guys know, I'm a diehard sports fan, and when this happened, this happened back in February, and then the NFL over the summer gave Ray Rice a 2-game suspension.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 2 weeks ago, they came back, and Roger Goodell had this big heartfelt 180 when he said, oh, I got it wrong, which, by the way, is one of the first times Roger Goodell has ever said he got anything wrong. And he said, oh, I got it wrong, but so now going forward, it's going to be 6 games for the first-time offense and a year-long ban immediately for the second offense and potential lifetime ban.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, he could have adjusted the Ray Rice suspension if he wanted to. He could have said, you know what, I got it wrong before, so now even though I gave Ray 2, I'm going to bump it up to 6. But he didn't do that. He didn't even address that situation specifically. He didn't say Ray Rice's name.
Nope.
So rewind to yesterday. The video comes out in the morning. Everybody goes apeshit. Everybody reacts to the video. And the Ravens release Ray Rice, which is, they're right. That's all they could ever do anyway after the commissioner came down. They could not double punish Ray Rice other than to release him. Mm-hmm. So the NFL comes behind that and says, okay, Ray Rice is now suspended indefinitely. And any team that wants to sign him will have to actually get approval from the league. I'm sorry. What? They literally just put out a policy that said first-time offenders get 6 games and second-time offenders get a year, or at least a year.
Right.
Ray Rice is still a first-time offender. Now, I'm not defending what he did, but he's still a first-time defender. So how did they go from 2 games, skipping the 6 that they just instituted 2 weeks ago, and now said, okay, no, you're gone. Bye. See you.
We call it reactionary capitalism.
Right. Because here's the other things that have come out since then is that at first the NFL said that they did not have a copy of the tape, or they had not seen the complete tape. And then I just saw that the New Jersey State Police says the NFL statement is inaccurate.
That is correct. Yeah. They literally said New Jersey State Police are the only ones that have access to this video. And then New Jersey came back and said, that's not true. We don't have the video. It's with the district attorney's office.
That's the same thing Goldie Taylor said all day yesterday, by the way.
Right. And so then the NFL didn't respond to that, but then the district attorney's office came back and backed up late today. I don't know if you guys saw that. Late today said, oh, it was part of a grand jury indictment. It would have been irresponsible and illegal for us to release the videotape to the NFL. Either way, though, it was already out there. I mean, I know you guys probably heard it. I heard it on social media exactly what was in the content of the video that was released yesterday.
Right.
And
I honestly thought that it had already been released.
I'm sorry, what now?
I just said I honestly thought it had already been released because I felt so confident that we already knew what had happened that I thought everyone had already seen it, honestly.
Right.
So I didn't understand why it was news that it was out, because I was like, didn't y'all see it already? The whole thing?
Right, and that's why I couldn't understand, like, all of a sudden them backtracking to do that, because from what I had seen from that video in the first place, even him dragging her out of the elevator, I mean, I didn't understand. I mean, I know that she hit her head on the, railing or whatever, but I was just like, we already knew that we already knew this.
There was nothing new in this. There was absolutely nothing new in this video that we didn't already know. Sources close to the Ravens said that Ray Rice had even told the Ravens exactly what we saw yesterday, that he had told them that.
Right.
So there's like a narrative out there early yesterday that, Ray Rice lied to the Ravens and to the NFL, but sources last night and this morning were like, no, this is what he told the Ravens, this is what he told Roger Goodell, and they still decided, we like you. You have a clean-cut image. 2 games. This video won't get out.
And
they knew a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it ruined their brand, just like Sojo said. What were you going to say, Sojo?
No, I was just going to say, and you can be our poster boy for redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. So we can say, I mean, the Ravens went out of their way to promote Ray Rice after this. I mean, he still knocked her out. Without the video, the facts were still there. They literally wrote this loving report.
Janae apologized, and they tweeted out the apology of Janae to corroborate their story,
and made her come to that press conference.
They made her come, and that body language that she had made me so sad and mad.
Okay, so Kim, but going back to this, because I saw an article, I want you to explain basically, because this article says, so what's actually new about the NFL's new domestic violence policy? So what they're saying is that in this article it says the most important thing to note about the NFL's new rules is that they're neither new nor are they rules. They're words strung together in a way that people respond by saying, wow, the NFL takes domestic violence seriously. What it says is that the way that it's worded is that it says, please note that all this change does is sub in a loose baseline, 6 games plus or minus mitigating factors for a previously undefined suspension length that could have always been as long as Roger Goodell wanted it to be. The NFL could have chosen to suspend Ray Rice for 6 games without even passing these rules. They could have suspended the next player to beat the shit out of his wife for 6 games without needing to refer to any new rules. So what's the big difference? Was that they gave a specific number to it?
The big difference is that Roger Goodell got to say, hey, I was wrong, and look, I'm doing something for women and domestic violence. Okay. But in reality, that article's right. Literally, back when he gave Ray Rice 2 games, he could have given him 8 games at that point. Mm-hmm. He could have given him 8 games, and I actually think, had he given him 8 games, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Exactly. We wouldn't be having the Ray Rice got, suspended indefinitely conversation. He would still be on his 8-game suspension. The NFL would say, yes, we saw this, and that's why we gave him 8 games, because at that point, no first offense had ever gotten 8 games.
Right.
The other thing is that Ray McDonald was recently arrested for, assaulting his girlfriend at his house. This is like the weekend before the NFL, like last weekend. Yep. And he got to play this past Sunday. And the reason was, there's a due process. Even his coach, the other Harbaugh brother, who's always said, I'm against domestic violence, I'm against domestic abuse. You can do anything, I will stand up for you unless you hit a woman, was like, but there's due process. So he's going to play. And Greg Hardy for the Carolina Panthers was convicted of assault on his ex-girlfriend earlier this summer, and he was not suspended at all. He's undergoing, he's appealing the decision, but in the meantime, the commissioner could have suspended him because he was convicted. Could have suspended him, but he played on Sunday. Had a sack.
I just don't understand why they want a league full of men with demonstrated bad character. I mean, because that's the thing that struck me about that video initially. Before this new shit came out, we already could tell that was a man of fucking bad character. Right. Anytime you can treat somebody like that, it doesn't matter whether it's your almost wife or someone else just kick them and drag them and carry on like they ain't shit.
He kicked her in the portion of the video that we saw initially. We saw him kick her body.
We saw that. And why do you want a league full of anyone or any, and this is true of any organization, why do I want to be someone who says that it's okay for me to promote and hire, and really we have this culture where we worship these people with this bad character. Fuck them.
I have to defend the league a little bit.
Coming at me yesterday, I was just blocking motherfuckers left and right because fuck them and your trolling behavior. Go ahead.
I have to defend the league a little bit because I don't think the league is defined by people of bad characters. I think that this is probably less than 2% of the league. There are a lot of players in the league that don't do this, that don't engage in this, that have never been arrested, have never even been involved in this. I mean, not even just arrested, they've never been involved. So I think it's a slippery slope to say, why we want a league that promotes these types of individuals. That said, I do think the NFL just failed. I mean, they completely failed here. They knew what happened.
Because I don't think what Buddha's saying is that we're looking at the large number of men that don't. I think when you have clear examples of men that do, and you continue to allow them to play, you set them up as poster children for whatever. And even in Ray Rice's case, you swept that shit under the rug. You are in a sense promoting bad behavior, even though the majority, and it ruins the rest of the guys who aren't a part of this bullshit.
Because I do believe that most of them aren't, but it's just like because of that.
There's another good guy out there that wouldn't do that shit, so go get him.
Right, that's what I mean. We're so committed to you playing and you running up and down the field or whatever it is that we just have to ignore that shit because, well, it's okay if you're an asshole, you mistreat them as long as you do the right thing on the field. That's the only thing that matters.
I really don't understand. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
I was just going to say another thing that came up on Twitter was that now Ray Rice's career is ruined. Like, we have ruined his career because he won't be able to do anything anymore in the league or whatever. Okay, my question is, because I still don't understand how all this falls out. This permanent ban, is it truly permanent? Is there a way that, because when I was reading this, I was thinking this doesn't really sound so permanent to me. This sounds like there's some decisions that could be made a little bit later on down the line to bring this dude back in.
It's not a permanent ban. He's suspended indefinitely. So, okay, let's put it this way. If the league didn't do that yesterday, the Ravens would have released him and no other team would have touched him this year. I mean, it just wouldn't have happened. He just would have been out there. But then next year, a team would have come up and said, okay, we need a running back. Let's bring you in, have a discussion. Let's see if you can actually perform. And then they would have gone about the process of signing Ray Rice. By suspending him indefinitely, the league is saying, if you want to sign him, you have to come to us, make a case in which we will say, yes, you may sign him, or no, you may not. And then he can go forward. So right now, to be honest, he could be reinstated in 2 weeks.
So basically,
suspended indefinitely.
He really could technically, and here's my entire point, because a lot of people make this huge case on he can't do anything to overcome this. If this man was truly remorseful for what he did, he really could put in the work. And I'm not saying that it's a shot that he could get in. Maybe people would still be like, I don't want to touch him. He's too much of a liability. But if that's something that he really wanted to do, he could begin to start making amends in ways that he hasn't done already. Like, for example, in the case with the thing on Twitter where the guy was saying, I'm sorry and I'm a work in progress, but had never attended a session of counseling, had never, made amends with the baby's mom. He really could technically do something to try to redeem himself. It's not like he can't do anything else in life. Because people were trying to say, well, his life is essentially over. Because
he has to feel like he did something wrong. So even in Janae's statement, it put everybody else, in him allowing her to be the front person. Again, it put the target on someone else. His shoulders are huge. He can bear this weight. If you can swing on that woman, you can bear the weight of what comes with it. I don't think he feels like he did anything wrong. He feels like this was a mistake. That wasn't a mistake because there were a whole bunch of actions.
But you know what, Ms. Mark? He even said, though, that was not me.
That's a fucking lie. That was him.
You know what I mean?
That
Like, he didn't own it at all. It's one thing to say it's a mistake, because at least you're owning that you did something wrong. But when you say that was not me, you're
full tape from beginning to end. That was all him. He waited for her to walk past.
He's saying that whatever that is, whoever that was some switch that turned on, that I don't have responsibility. It's the same switch that turns on when men say, I raped her because of what she was wearing. I raped her because she was drunk. I raped her because she was unconscious. It's the same switch. I punched her because it was something else that she did. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. It's no responsibility.
He wasn't so much of a zombie that he forgot to go get her shoe. He went and kicked her shoe out the elevator. So
yeah,
I mean,
he got the shoe and brought it back. Yeah.
And the other thing is Ocho Cinco is still out here, still living and grabbing hoes on Twitter. So I mean, his life isn't over. I'm just saying.
I mean, his life isn't over because number one, he gets to keep $25 million of what he's already got. So when they keep talking about he has no money, he's broke, he has $25 million. So if he's broke, that's just bad money management on his part, number one. Number two, you're right. If he really, truly wanted to continue a career in the NFL, he could actually, starting today, what he should have said today, instead of, I'm just trying to be with my wife and whatever, you could have actually stood up and said, yes, I was wrong. I did this. I accept this. I accept this punishment. This is on me, and I will work every day for the rest of my life to make up for what I did, because I don't want to be that person. Instead of saying it was a mistake.
Can't say any of that if it ain't true.
Okay. He could have even said that since that time, because that incident happened in February, he could have laid out everything that he's done since February and said that regardless of this decision, I will continue to do the steps that I'm doing right now to rebuild my marriage, to rebuild my family, to rebuild my image, all of that stuff. But he didn't. He had his wife make a statement on Instagram blaming everybody else.
Well, wait. I think this is a part of a bigger societal issue, in that we have this idea, and you see it all the time. I don't want to be judged, but what people are really saying is that they don't want the negative consequences for their actions. It's okay for him to be judged as a great football player and get benefit from that, but to be judged for something negative, and a whole chunk of society refuse to do it. And like I said, they have this whole, no judge, I'm not judging you. No, the fuck I am judging you. I'm judging your actions, just like I would not park beside a big white box truck in the dark. I'm judging whoever the fuck parked that truck there, because I care about my safety. So I'm going to judge him because I care about that girl's safety, maybe more than she does.
Girl, a NFL player on Twitter, and to their credit, a lot of the NFL players were like, this nigga ain't us. A lot of them did come out, but there was this one, and I can't remember who it was, but he said the thing you said about you can't judge people, and then he said, since y'all out here judging, who you think gonna get into heaven first, you or Ray Rice?
I have no words to that. I can't even. What?
That's all I got.
Hold on.
He goes back into the fuck you league. I mean, what is that?
But again, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, then you see a player tweeting that, like, on his verified account, and
so stupid.
It's like
I have no words for that.
It's just so stupid.
But I would wonder though, if these crazy tweets that people are putting out, are they admissible in court as a pattern of thought and behavior? Because if this guy ends up,
Twitter.
I
think so. It's a public record.
Yeah, anything that you write out in the it's public record.
That's because
looked up on his girl, then he's got some questionable tweets that we can refer back to.
Yeah, we can refer back to, which is good, because you know what? Show yourselves, idiots. Show yourselves. I need you to out yourselves, so that I don't have to listen to you and find out it like way down the line. Show me your truth.
Can we address?
Wait, let me pause because I have a lot of comments. Hey, Queenie. Okay. Let's see. I got a lot of comments from Evo, and I don't know what order they came in, so I'm just going to read them from top to bottom, and y'all just going to deal. So he said, I think this is talking about when we talk about the women protecting the men. He said it's fear and self-preservation. Brandon Marshall has beat up his wife, and he's a fucking star here in Chicago. Yep. I really want to see what the NFL is going to do when October comes. Bring out the pink ribbon gloves and cleats just to sell merch, or will it focus on domestic violence this year, or keep it as business? Keep it as business as usual.
Especially since it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month as well as breast cancer.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Roger thinks he is doing something by telling teams they can't sign him, and the CFL is going to follow suit, or NFL, I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, the CFL, the Canadian Football League, is not going to sign Ray Rice.
They'll let it roll till it dies, and then they may let him come back. Yeah, they can take him back. They can take this back to last year with the Jonathan Martin situation. The NFL will bury anything that can embarrass the league. They would have also touted it as a redemption story like Vic. But can you redeem yourself from that video? No. And then Queen Nee highlighted something. I noticed that Lady Buddha is up in these streets cussing like her name is mine.
Yeah.
So
Queenie, you missed her. Let's see how much you got left. Hold up your little solo cup.
Wow.
Wow.
I was cussing yesterday too, and I was sober. At any rate, keep going, Miss Smart. And then I have a comment.
No, so those
she gonna take a nap.
Yeah, those are the comments. So you were gonna say something before I pause to read those comments?
Was I?
Do you remember? No, I said Sojo was.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, Buddha, say what you were getting ready to say, and then I'll say mine.
It's just a little bit off topic, only in that we're talking about domestic violence because that's what it is right now, but I just don't want people to lose sight of all the other types of violence that happen that aren't just I punched her, right? So we have husbands and significant others and intimate partner violence that is verbal abuse, and it's just as abusive and it leaves the same scars, if not worse. It's sexual abuse, and so those things we're not going to hear about, especially in the context of an intimate relationship. And so I don't want it to just, just because we don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't go on, and it's still just as hurtful. So that's it. There was one more thing. Sorry. The other thing was just that the judge in the Tony Farmer case, she says people said that opportunities were lost. And she clarified, no, he lost those opportunities. And I think that when people start to act like suddenly Ray Rice is the victim, it's not that opportunities were lost, like they just all of a sudden disappeared on their own accord. It was a direct result, cause and effect. We can follow from the beginning to the end of him. So that's it.
I wanted to touch on Chuck D's stream of consciousness last night that we that we talked about. He basically tweeted out something about would we, and I'm paraphrasing, would we have these cases if more women were not fatherless or something like that? And so we kind of you don't have to look like that.
I love when Kimba breathes.
Right.
It's great, the whole show.
Those of you who are not watching the show, you have to see the expression on her face that goes along with the breath that she takes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
He tried to go back and clarify, and a lot of people did too, and because he was kind of saying that there were days back in the good old days that women were under protection from uncles, fathers, brothers, where men would be afraid to exhibit some of those behaviors. And then something to the effect, and I think some tweets were deleted because I know I saw some tweets that weren't all of a sudden weren't there. But he also said something to the effect of women who have fathers would make better choices in partners. So there couple of things to go with that. We've never had a true good old days type thing. We had women who were not encouraged to leave their men regardless of the situations because they didn't have the access to employment like they do now. A lot of times their mothers were in situations where they were staying in marriages. And so I know that, and I do say this, a man can't, nobody can check a man like another man. I firmly believe that, but I think that when he tweeted it, it was irresponsible to basically kind of say, a woman needs the cover of a man in order to be safe at all times, because it also absolves men from raising their sons not to hit. as opposed to saying she needs protection from that man.
Right.
I'll say this, that, you know, we, like you said, we have talked about the cover of Men and how nobody checks a man like a man. On one hand, I do trust that when a man says they're going to respond to a woman differently when she is under the cover of man, I'm going to trust that that man knows what he's talking about, because men know men, and I've witnessed it myself. But the other part of that is oftentimes those same men who are charged with covering their wives, sisters, and daughters are also the abusers. So you can't just say just alone by being associated with a man, you are under a safe protective cover, because that's not necessarily the case. The third point I want to make is that I don't understand when it became unpopular to highlight or to acknowledge that when pieces of a puzzle are missing, that there's a result. Everybody knows if you lose the damn widgets to put together an IKEA bookcase, the shit's going to fall apart. So why is it this idea that if you don't have a masculine influence in a child's life, that there's no result for that?
But smart. No. He didn't say a child's life. He didn't acknowledge the boys who were fatherless at all. Mm-hmm. He didn't address that part at all, and that's the part that I think was missing too. And also with that, and I just went in two different directions. A lot of times, even when girls have brothers and fathers, sometimes they won't tell them because they're protecting their brothers and fathers from going to jail for killing or injuring, you know, a guy that's done something. So that's one part. But the other part was his statement would have been fine with me had he said that about both the boys and the girls, saying that the boys needed men in their lives to teach them not to do that to women, but also that the girls needed guys in their lives, you know, to serve as protectors. So no, I don't think that there's something that, you know, he was wrong for saying or pointing out that fathers were missing, but I do think there was something wrong with him just saying it for girls and skipping all over boys, because that's a part of patriarchy, to turn it back on the girls as opposed to also including men.
Right, yeah.
Which was where my deep side came from, by the way, that it was just solely focused on, oh, women don't have enough males in their lives to protect them, and it totally just removed the responsibility from the men that are attacking these women. I just want to
go ahead.
No, that was my deep side. I don't like it when a situation like this arises and people are like, well, what could the women do, or what could the woman have had that would have made this better for her? Maybe if he doesn't hit her, this doesn't happen.
It would make it a lot better.
Not to hit. Maybe if they were taught not to hit.
Right.
Well, how about this piece of it? What if instead of spending a lot of time, adult men spending a lot of time telling women what we should be doing, and you know how the fatherless are susceptible to a lot of things, are they checking their boy, you know, who?
That's exactly my
point. Are they ostracizing that dude they play ball at, who they saw the dude's girl at the grocery store with a black eye? Are they putting that guy out of their social circle? No, they're not.
That's exactly my point. That was exactly my point.
To answer from the NFL perspective, you saw that a little bit yesterday, where like Ray Lewis, for example, was on ESPN NFL Countdown last night, and he was like, well, we can't leave Ray Rice alone. We got to be there for him. We got to support him. His teammate, the wide receiver, whose name I can't remember right now, Torrey Smith, was another one who was like, we got to support Ray Rice. I mean, like, I don't condone what he did, but we got to be there for him. So to answer your question, you know, the brotherhood of the NFL seems to go a little bit deeper than, you know, necessarily, oh, you're a woman beater.
Yeah, I think men still get some. I saw that on Twitter. Like, you know, and I told you the real life situation of what was happening on Twitter. Men still get support. Even in the midst of being ostracized, they still have a band of brotherhood, because there were people who were telling the Twitter guy, you know, that's dead ass wrong. And then on the other end of it saying, but we got to support my nigga.
No, you don't have to support. This whole idea that we've gone to the point that we have normalized dysfunction to the point that people will support it. No, part of the penalty, the social penalty of doing fuck shit, is a fuck you. It's really kind of, it's natural, because that's called self-preservation. In order for me to preserve myself, I've got to get the fuck away from your abusing ass. We can't be friends. If Terry was abusing her daughter, we can't be friends. We just can't. That's not good for my spirit.
Plus,
Yeah.
you would call CPS on me. As you should have.
Yes. So this whole idea that, oh, you know, if you're my friend, and it's funny because one of my coworkers used to work with me a while ago. I said, you know, I love you to death, but if I ever heard or suspected that you were a child molester or rapist, you ain't got to ask who called the people on you. You gonna know it's me. You know, we out there up front. I'm not gonna be that friend. Don't write me. Don't ask for no letter of recommendation.
Blind support too, because if somebody is trying to go through, like, let's say somebody did do like an abusive situation and they were truly committed to recovery and they were doing this, like genuinely doing the steps, not doing shit for show, but genuinely doing the steps.
Right.
You know, I don't have a problem with someone saying, you know what, I'm going to help you. That's just like a recovering alcoholic. I don't have a problem. You know, somebody, you know, whatever. But if you're up here talking about, you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic, however, don't judge me when I drink this whole, you know, mason jar full of water, you know, vodka, that's a completely different thing. Like, I got to get away from you if you get behind the wheel drunk. Just because, you know, because you're telling me I should support you, as opposed to you being like, you know what, can you be my sponsor? You know what I'm saying? Like,
like if Ray Rice was actually out there doing, if he had come out and said, you know what, let me go forward, let me make amends, let me start right now with myself and say, this was not a mistake, this was me, I shouldn't have done it, I'm taking this responsibility, and now let me go forward, let me talk to domestic violence groups, let me go sit in and listen to other women's stories of how they stay with these people, let me respect my wife on a totally different level, let me understand what she just went through on a deeper level, then I wouldn't have a problem so much with people saying, you know what, this guy is working through the system, he's coming back, let's give him another chance, because then that is like the steps that show me that you actually care beyond I'm trying to save my job. It's the same thing that happens for me with Chris Brown when I felt like I was like, just thinking about everybody Chris. Was like, oh, haters, haters, haters. I'm hating you because you beat her ass, and then you got mad at people mad at you because you beat her ass.
And because you picked at your lavender apology sweater that you wore.
Well, and you keep showing that you haven't mastered your anger or really attempted to master your anger.
Exactly.
Just like with my ex, you know, he hasn't attempted, you know, my ex hasn't taken any responsibility for anything that went down and is trying to, you know, act like nothing happened at all, just takes no responsibility. It's like, if you're not going to take any responsibility, no, we don't need to support you. The only thing that we need to support you in doing is helping you to take responsibility, and that's it. But I just want to say shout out to Sojo, who made a very feminist statement earlier talking about patriarchy. So if you have paid attention to Sojo over the past year or so, you will know that patriarchy is not a word that she just like says with ease, and so it just like flew out of your mouth.
Because that is a clear-cut example of patriarchy. That is a clear-cut example of patriarchy. So,
Sojo, the feminist, woohoo, patriarchy, all right.
I did have one other comment. One of the comments we received was about Brandon Marshall. So the deal with Brandon Marshall is, yes, he has actually, you know, assaulted, I think, at least 2 women in his history. But then he was diagnosed with a mental disorder, and I think that is the reason, to be honest, why the tide turned for Brandon Marshall. He literally acknowledged he had this mental disorder. He's talked positively about it. He's working with people about that. That's why he wears the green shoes and pays the fines every week. So it doesn't dismiss what he's done in the past, but I do think that is a huge part of the reason why the NFL has been able to embrace him in a different manner than they have with other people.
And that's something that I won't necessarily stop side-eyeing, but I will take a look through a different lens.
Right.
Because even in Javon Belcher's case, what he did was horrendous, but there were also, what people were saying were some underlying factors, too, with his mental stability.
Right, there were signs along the way, yeah.
Yeah, that were going unchecked a long time before this happened. So, I mean, you know, but then I don't want Ray Rice to pop up and be like, I had, you know, the concussion syndrome like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
I definitely understand what you're saying.
Remember back in the day when somebody could do some stuff and then like show up on like Oprah with their preacher in the audience and then all was forgiven? Or do a gospel song, like Chris. Back in the day, Chris could have just did a gospel song, and you know, everybody been like, I mean, okay,
He could have done one with R. Kelly and been forgiven, because that's
R. Kelly. Right. Oh, a simpler time.
Don't act like it wouldn't work. It would have worked.
He didn't even need to do it, and it worked. He literally was just like, people are hating me, and it worked. And people are like, oh my God, don't hate Chris.
Exactly.
You're just jealous. So I
his lavender apology blouse. No.
Lavender apology blouse. Okay, ladies. It's a little after 9, and I know I am fading because you guys know I was already exhausted when I got here. Are there any other? I know did you guys want to talk about the Atlanta letter or no?
No, I want to go to sleep, honestly.
No.
I just want to say I'm saying that you guys are going, but I have to say one thing: Danny Ferry should be fired. That's all I'm saying.
Who is that? Danny who?
Danny Ferry, the general manager of the Atlanta Hawks. What he said about Luol Deng was way worse than what the owner had said about Luol Deng.
Yeah.
I didn't see what he said. I only saw the owner's comment.
He basically said, he has a little African in him. He seems to be a nice guy, but he could be the guy that's, sitting, like, what did he say, setting up a cart behind the building, selling you, like, selling fake things or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm going to go look for that.
And that's the general manager, and I think he's a minority part owner as well. So.
Yeah, what he said was way worse.
When I read it, I just expected a greater level of racism. I just don't feel he aimed high enough. And
you feel like he should have gone with the Leonard Brothers.
Yeah, he should have gone full Leonard Brothers on it, like, moon cricket, porch monkey, just go ham. Don't hold back. If you want to have an excuse to sell your team, first of all,
which is what that is, by the way.
I thought we were going to talk about it.
You know what? If he really needed to say something, he could have anonymously logged on to the Black Guy Who Tips and just guessed his ad, guessed the race out of all his angst.
Let's go back and then I know we said we weren't going to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it, but we should talk about it.
2012. That's the best racism you can come up with in 2012?
2 years ago in an email that was really long and thought out and had some actually interesting points. You know what I mean? But I'm really racist, so maybe I need to sell my team. I'm going to sell.
He just wants to sell the team and increase the value, and I'm out.
I saw some kind of article that said, "Oh, it was revealed." I said it wasn't revealed.
He revealed it. He stood out. He streaked across the racism field
he was like, "Hey, me." He was like, "I'm a racist. I want to sell my team now.
I'm a racist. I want $1 billion, please, for the Hawks." What is your boy's name? Who basically said entering the third decade of mediocrity.
Right.
Who was that?
Yeah,
from Very Smart Brothers.
Yeah.
That was the perfect line because having an Atlanta native, now 40, I can attest that it's definitely been about 3 decades of mediocrity from the Hawks.
Somebody who goes to all the Hawks home games and you have to sit there.
I told you the only one that I know.
I was like, wait, are you guys one of the 20 that go?
You know what? I go. And here's what hurts so much is that you're overrun with the colors of the opposing team sitting around you in your own freaking arena. Okay, it's really time for bed. I don't want to do that.
I'm yawning. Anyway, ladies, we're gonna wrap this bad boy on up. Lady Buddha, where can the people find you? And do you have a cheers for this evening?
I don't have any cheers because all the cheers are cheers that I've already given. So I'm not going to give any cheers today. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to give cheers to my aunt who doesn't know that I have a podcast. She is in her mid-80s, and she is one of the most amazing women that I know, and I'm hopefully going to get a chance to see her tomorrow. She doesn't know that I'm nearby, but I'm going to call her tomorrow and see can I go by and see her. So cheers to Aunt Jessie. And you can find me on Twitter at ndcollier, Collier. I've been engaging a little bit more now that we're out of the busy season at work. And you can also catch my blogs, which I've been doing a little bit more as well, on Coco Studio, so that's COCO Studio singular, cocostudio.com.
Okay, excellent. Sojo?
Well, first y'all can find me on Twitter at SOJOXOXO, that's Sojo XOXO. And my cheers goes to Rod from the Black Guy Who Tips, Insanity Report from the Insanity Check, and Phenom Black from Where's My 40 Acres. because I have watched them for the past few days tackle male and female ignorance directly for days and hours on end, as opposed to just sitting out the conversation or making general tweets. They have actually been engaging in conversations and calling people out on their bullshit when they don't understand. Like, they've been active in doing that. And as men, you know, I just wanted to really give them a shout out for that, because when things like this happen, you see guys speaking in generalities, but you rarely see them like being like, nah, dog, that's fucked up. Let me tell you why that's fucked up, you stupid ass. I mean, they just, you know, have gone on and on. And it's not just for show. They are consistent with it, because whenever something like this comes up, they really are on the front lines doing that. So cheers to you guys.
Okay. And Terry?
So I have 2 cheers tonight. My first one is to the media that has been calling out the NFL and Roger Goodell for basically either being incompetent or lying. Because in reality, that's really all it can be at this point. Either they saw the video and they're lying that they didn't, or they willfully did not see the video so they can have plausible deniability. So I give cheers to every media person that's been out there relentlessly saying, basically, this is bullshit. And I also want to give cheers to a former NFL player that's actually doing it the right way, one of the good guys in the league, Charlie Batch. He's got a foundation called Best of the Batch. It's a fabulous thing. It works with children. Please check it out. And I can be found on Twitter at TheKimbafuzz.
Okay, and I am ThinkPretty. I can be found at think_P_smart. Let's see. My cheers for today goes to Paulette Brown. If you guys don't know who she is, first, she's an HU alum, but she's also set to be the first African-American head of the American Bar Association. So, yay, Paulette.
And by HU, do you mean Hampton?
Ooh, no trolling. No trolling.
Shots fired.
Resist. Okay, I'm sorry. She means Howard. She means Howard.
Lecherous. Poor. Anyway, I'd like to give my toast to her. And we can be found, the show can be found on Twitter at Whiskey Wine Moon. Follow us there. We're also all over the web. If you're listening to this, you probably know that we are on Stitcher, iTunes, Podomatic, in them streets, on that web, wherever. Please leave us a 5-star review on any of those services. And send us, and follow us on the Facebook. We got to do a better job of the Facebook. I don't know how that's going to work, but it's very difficult. I just don't care enough for the Facebook. And I think that is it, unless you guys have any closing remarks, or did I miss anything?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Do it. But the 4th annual National Black Women's Life Balance and Wellness Conference is happening in Atlanta on October 3rd and 4th. We have a networking dinner featuring Beverly Guy Cheftal speaking on October 3rd, and then we have the conference on October 4th, and registration just opened today. So if you're going to be in the Atlanta area October 3rd and 4th, please come. We'd love to have you.
Okay. Excellent. And with that, we'll bid you guys adieu, and we'll see you guys next week. And if you have comments on what we said, feel free to hit us up on Twitter and we can discuss. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.